Hey everybody, this is Coop from Demonic Legion and Druki.net. I've got a battle report today with 1750 points of Dark Elves versus Lizardmen. My Dark Elves, I had a Supreme Sorceress who's the General. She's a level 4 of Death, mounted on a Dark Steed with a Dispel Scroll and Ring of Hotek. For those who don't know, the Ring of Hotek gives the bearer magic resistance 3, and every time an opponent casts a spell targeting the sorceress or a unit within 6 inches of her, they miscast on a roll of double ones as well as double sixes, but double ones do not grant irresistible force. It's a 50-point magic item for the Dark Elves book, and I really like it. I think it goes great on the sorceress. I've got a Master who's my BSB. He's got a 1-up save and a 4-up save. And he is on a cold one. I've got, for core, I've got 2 units of 14 Witch Elves with Musician and Standards. And I've got a unit of 5 Dark Riders with Musician and Shields. So those 5 Dark Riders are mostly just redirectors or a sacrificial unit. I've got 3 Bolt Throwers in Special, along with 18 Executioners who have full command and the Banner of Swiftness. And additionally, I have a unit of 5 Cold One Knights with full command and the Standard of Discipline. Lastly, I've got 6 Doomfire Warlocks with a champion for rare. So here's my Sorceress. She rolled up, I think I rolled 3 6s, so I got to choose a lot of my spells. I took Purple Sun. The other spell I got, I think, was Soul Blight, which I dropped down to Spirit Leech. And then I chose Doom and Darkness and Fate of Bajuna. Fate is the one that deals wounds depending on their strength. Depending on their toughness, sorry. It does 2d6 hits minus the opponent's toughness. And they wound on a 2-up with no armor saves. So that's a pretty nice one to take out characters. Purple Sun's obviously great for low initiative troops like Saurus Warriors. Doom and Darkness, because I've noticed that Lizardmen really have low leadership on a lot of their units when they're outside of the General's bubble, so Doom and Darkness is nice to break them, and Spirit Leech just because it's a great spell. So, I ended up rolling first turn, but this is just a shot after Vanguards. I've got 1 Bolt Thrower away on the right. I moved my Dark Riders up. Got my 18 Executioners who have the Rage Toad, so my opponent's Riperdactyls get like Super Frenzy against them. I think they each get D3 extra attacks and also Killing Blow and Hatred. Next to the Executioners, I've got a unit of 14 Witch Elves. To the left of them, I've got my 5 Cold One Knights with the BSB, who's right here. I've got 14 more Witch Elves to the left of them. My opponent has a Razordon up here. He's the one with the frilly stuff in the back. He is up so far because my opponent has Teto Echo, so he got 2 additional Vanguards, so he moved him up. He's got a Salamander hiding behind this rock, 2 units of Skink Skirmishers. I think both of these have Javelins. To the left of them, he's got the Bastiladon, his BSB, who has a 1-up armor save and a 4-up ward save. He's got it's got the Talisman of Preservation. He's got 4 Riperdactyls, a unit of, it looks like 20 Saurus, a unit of Skink Cohort with Teto Echo inside, who knows all of Lore of Heavens and has a bunch of other special rules. He's got his General here, who's a Saurus Old Blood with the Armor of Destiny, Dawnstone, and other Trickster Shard, which is a really, really strong build for him. He's also got a great weapon, so he hits a Strength 7. He's got a 1-up armor save that's rerollable, as well as a 4-up ward save. And opponents are rerolling ward saves, so that's really strong. He's got another Salamander, and he's got his Skinks, who he used his other Vanguard on, so that they can hopefully take out my Bolt Thrower. For me, I've got my unit of 6 Doomfire Warlocks with the Sorceress right here. I vanguarded up a little bit, so this is a pretty long charge for his Ripperdactyls. But actually, it doesn't matter because they vanguarded. I think I was making it so that his general needed like a 12 to get in. I've got my other bolt thrower here, and then the third one's on the left. So I won the turn to go first. So I moved my Doomfire Warlocks to the left over here so that they can cast Doom Bolt on these skinks, and also so that my next turn I can sneak around back and start casting some death spells. I rolled really poorly for Dangerous Terrain. I rolled up 2 wounds, and then I didn't ward save any of them, so I took 2 casualties to the unit right off the bat, and I passed my panic, though, which was nice. Obviously didn't move the bolt throwers. I moved the witches up just a little bit. I basically just moved my entire flank up a bit. And then I moved the Dark Riders up way in the back to be a distraction and hopefully get his shooting to focus over there. And if they don't, I'll charge his skinks or something like that. During the magic phase, I cast Doom Bolt successfully on these, what are they called? Skinks. I do roll Irresistible Force and lose 1 more Warlock, but I was able to totally wipe out the skinks. And then through shooting with my bolt throwers, I took off 1 Ripperdactyl on the left, and also on the right. I think I might have weakened the Razordon a little bit. Turn 1 Lizardman. So he tried to take his Ripperdactyls into my general's unit. I think he needed like a 9, and I just was not willing to risk it, so I just decided to flee and popped out the other side of the building. I take another Dangerous Terrain check, and the Sorceress takes a wound from it, so rolling terribly on Dangerous Terrain, but, you know, whatever. He moves up 1 of the Salamanders, his general. Tedoecho goes up on this little hill. He moves his Bastiladon and BSB up, and he basically turns all of his shooting units to face the Dark Riders. His Razordon, his Salamander, and his 10 skinks with javelins all focus on my Dark Riders. After shooting, you can see he's picked up all of them except for 1. Luckily, I passed my panic check, and I don't think much happened in the magic phase. He rolled pretty high for the magic phase and tried to get Thunderbolt off on my cold ones, Chain Lightning, sorry, off my cold ones, which I was concerned would jump to my witches and then my executioners, so I used my scroll, and then I was able to dispel his next spell. Turn 2 Dark Elves. I take my lone Dark Rider into the Razordon. Not much I can do with this guy just because he's too far away to redirect on the left, and also he'll get shot to death no matter where he goes. So my hope is that maybe I'll stick around on this Salamander or this Razordon and keep him tied up for a little bit, or sneak through a couple wounds. And then I just move the rest of my units up. Over here, I had attempted to charge the side of his Ripperdactyls with my Cold One Knights. I think I needed an 8 and I rolled a 7, so they didn't make it. The witches also tried to get in there and they failed, so it was a shame I couldn't make either of those charges because he's got a nice setup here with his BSB to go into the witches. And on the left, the Sorceress unit did rally. I rolled an 8, which was a little scary, but she's leadership 9, so it's alright. And since they fled from a charge, I was able to march like normal, and I just moved way up here. During the magic phase, I don't think I get a lot. I do Doombolt this Salamander off the table, which is really nice. And I try to Spirit Leech Tedoecho. Spirit Leech is a success. I got it off. I rolled a 5 and he rolled a 3. So he was taking 3 wounds without an armor save, but he rolled 2 5s, and I think Tedoecho has a 5-up ward save. So he only took 1 wound, which is fine. It's good to start weakening him up a little bit. And that was pretty much it for my turn. Shooting, I think I took off a wound on the Ripperdactyl. Maybe I didn't even shoot. Oh, you know what? I didn't shoot. I shot at his general with this bolt thrower. I used the big shot and wounded him, but he made his ward save. And then this other guy tried to do the same thing, but failed to wound. Yeah, I think I failed to wound. That's what happened. And over here you can see my Dark Rider was unsuccessful in beating the Razor. It did sneak through a wound though. During his turn, he moved his Ripperdactyls way up in my flank. He moved the Razordon over a little bit, and he took the Salamander up a bit as well. This is a shot after combat. Not much happened in the magic phase. I think I was able to dispel everything. It's really nice having a level 4 against a level 2. He had taken his general into one of the bolt throwers and killed it no problem. Because there were no nearby skinks, he had to overrun, so his general is really out of position. As you can see in the center of the board, he took his BSB into my witches, and I lost 4 witches. But luckily I'm steadfast, and the BSB is right there, so I passed my leadership check, no problem. Dark Elves, turn 3. So I think I charged his skinks over here with the witches, and maybe the executioners as well. Actually, I think just the witches. And they fled, and I failed my charge. I charged the Cold One Knights into his Bastillodon. As you can see, there's another unit of skinks fleeing in front of them. That was also from the witches. They charged the skinks on the left first, and then redirected into the right, both of which fled. My Cold One Knights were barely able to squeeze in against this Bastillodon. I really only get 2 guys attacking, but I'm more than happy with that just because I've got 2 points of static combat res from the banners, 1 for the charge, and my master, and the other cold one should be able to do a wound or 2. Couldn't move the witches, and my general's unit, the sorceress, just moves up like so that she can cast some death spells or Purple Sun. During the magic phase, I think I do try to cast Purple Sun down the flank of these Saurus. I threw 4 dice at it and failed. And then with my remaining dice, I tried to Doom Bolt a unit, but that also failed. So not a great magic phase. Shooting, I go into the Ripperdactyls over here with this Bolt Thrower. I think I do 3 wounds, so he's down to 2 models, and one of them has 1 wound on him. The other Bolt Thrower, I think, went into his Razordon and killed it on the right. And after, I don't have a shot of it, but the Cold One Knights are able to kill the Bastillodon. My Master did 2, he had 2 wounds, and I think my opponent saved 1 of them with his armor save, so he had taken 1 wound. And then my other Cold One Knight my champion did 2 wounds as well, but he saved both of those with his 5-up armor save after modifiers. He couldn't sneak any wounds through on my Master. His Bastillodon just totally whiffed his attacks, and I think he rolled a 3-3 and a 2 for his hits, so none of that hit. And then he was down, I think, on Snake Eyes because I had a charge, a wound, and 2 banners. He fled, and I caught him, so the Cold One Knights ended up kind of back here. Since I have Swift Stride and he doesn't, it was pretty easy to catch him. And then this combat with the witches, I don't know exactly what happens, but I'm still steadfast and I stick. So turn 3 Lizardmen. He takes his Saurus into the witches to break them and free up his BSB. And then he moves up his general to charge the Bolt Thrower eventually. He also, this really surprised me, he took his Teto Echo Bunker into the Cold One Knights, which really isn't a terrible idea. I don't know that much about Skinks, so I don't know if they have a banner. They might have a banner in there, but he automatically has 5 combat res from 1 for a charge, 2 for a flank, and then 3 for 3 additional ranks. So I'll probably kill some, so we'll have 4 because he'll have 2 additional ranks. So if he gets lucky, he could break this unit. So that's not not a crazy charge. Over here, he takes his Ripperdactyls into my Executioners. He had given them the Toad in the first place. I really wasn't concerned about this at all, just because they have Killing Blow. It's nice that he's on my flank for him, so that I don't get too many attacks, but still, um, I'll be in there. And then I think that's pretty much it uh, for important movement. After combat, he killed my witches, and his Saurus had to overrun because there was no skink priest nearby or skink chieftain to stop them from overrunning. I really think that's a pretty silly rule, the predatory fighter making them overrun, but you know, whatever. Uh, I we end up tying combat over here exactly. My master does I think all 3 wounds to him, and he wasn't able to do any to me because the master's got a 1-up armor save and a 4-up ward save. So I just reform like this and plan to grind him down. I don't have a shot of it, but on the far right, his Ripperdactyls died. I only had 3 attacks against him, and I was feared. And I was really lucky for my hits. I rolled a 5, 5, and a 6. And then with Strength 6 great weapons, I'm wounding pretty much no matter what, unless I rolled 2 1s in a row. So I did the 3 final wounds to him and killed the Ripperdactyls. So turn 4 Dark Elves. This is pretty much the end of the game. I think this is the last picture I took. So I took my Executioners and charged the Skinks in the back. If I move the Executioners forward, wheel, and then go into them, I'd be able to complete the charge. So the reason I charged the Skinks in the back first is because they're going to flee off the board, and they can redirect into the Salamander. I rolled like a 12 for my leadership check, so I actually couldn't redirect into the Salamander, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And then over here, I ended up moving my General on top of this hill. I rolled a 4 for the magic phase, a 2 and a 2, and I threw all my dice at Purple Sun. I got it off. He couldn't dispel it, and he doesn't have a scroll because Teto Echo's his only caster. And it hit 16 Saurus and killed 14 of them, I think. So he had 5 left. I ended up gaining back like 5 or so dice. So it would have been easy to Doom Bolt them off the table, or Fate and Doom Bolt his BSB, or even Doom and Darkness and then Spirit Leech. So at this point, he gave up. He had the only things he had left were the 1 Salamander, Teto Echo's Bunker. We didn't even get to fighting the combat, and it was pretty clear he was going to lose to 6 Cold One Knights with all those Cold One attacks. And then he had his General. So it ended up being a major victory for the Dark Elves. I ended up losing 1 unit of Witches, my Dark Riders, and 1 Bolt Thrower. And he ended up losing everything. Teto Echo would have died eventually, so he was pretty much left with a Salamander, his BSB, and his General. I think I would have killed these Saurus with shooting. So that was pretty much the end of the game. Thoughts? So I brought a pretty nasty list. This was the second game I played with my opponent this day. The first game was also at 1750, and I played a really combat-oriented Dark Elves list. So after that game, I switched to another list I had thought up. I had been really wanting to use Death Magic on my mounted Sorceress because I thought it would be really nasty, and in fact, it was very nasty. So I'm glad I got to try that out. As far as the units go, I like having only 5 Cold One Knights. They're kind of a smaller threat than 10, so I think it takes some of the shooting off of them. And Standard of Discipline is a really great thing to give them because now they leadership 10, since there's the Master in there. I started using Standard of Discipline with my Dark Elves, and I really, really like it. I think it's a good choice for Dark Elves because it's really hard to roll a 10 or it's really hard to roll an 11 or 12, but you get 10s every once in a while for leadership checks. So it's nice to have a Standard of Discipline in with a unit with a character so that it's pretty hard for them to fail leadership checks. I really like the Sorceress with Death and the Warlocks. Ring of Hotek's great because they're almost impossible to kill with magic. Witches, I take witches every single time for my core, almost always in 2 units of 14, and I really like the way they work. You get 28 attacks if they're all in combat, um, and they couldn't really do too much in the games against Lizardmen just because it's hard for them to catch skinks, and they're not great against Saurus without a lot of magic buff, because the Saurus have a 4-up armor save and toughness 4. But I always bring them and I like them. Um, I'm finding I'm not a huge fan of Dark Riders. I'd rather have Harpies to redirect and sacrifice. So in the future, I might switch Dark Riders out for something else. I know people really like them. I think they're all right. They'd be better in a unit of 10, so that I could have the option to put my sorceress in there too and be very mobile. But they're just not my favorite. And lastly, the bolt throwers are great. They're really good against Lizardmen because they just demolish the skink units who have such low toughness, and I can get them to flee a lot of the time. And then also, they're really the only thing I have, except for the executioners, that have a decent chance of killing his general. So if his general is close by, I need to roll a 3 to hit and then a 3 to wound. And then if he fails his ward save, I can put a couple wounds through with a big bolt thrower shot. So they're really useful. I think they're a good choice for Dark Elves, and it's also important to have shooting to soften up units before you get your combat blocks in there. And then lastly, Executioners. I love Executioners. Uh, they're just good against everything. I've never gotten into a combat where they've just gotten totally destroyed. I've been in combats before where someone hits me on the flank with onto my witches, or they send in something with a really high armor save or whatever, and the witches just totally get annihilated because they can't put any wounds through the armor. But executioners don't have that problem. They're good against almost everything because you have so many high strength attacks with killing blow. So I really highly recommend trying out executioners. I find that 8 wide is really good for them because they can get in a lot of attacks. And also horde. I've used 30 of them a couple of times, and it's been a great block. Um, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you later.